Spiritual Gumbo, back to the basics. Genesis chapter 3, carrying on right from where we left off. And where we did leave off was the serpent has deceived the woman. The woman and the man both have eaten the fruit in spite of all instruction, keeping in mind that the woman is a clone of the man. However, we leave off with the serpent and the woman being cursed, and we pick right back up with the man. Verse 18, chapter 3. And to Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened to the voice of thy wife, and eaten of the tree concerning which I charge thee of it only not to eat, of that thou hast eaten. Cursed is the ground in thy labors. In pain shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. Thorns and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat thy bread, until thou return to the earth out of which thou wast taken. For earth thou art, and to the earth thou shalt return. So we're going to expound quickly on this, but still carefully. Several things take place. The worst of all the curses take place, in being that Adam is told that you will now, not only are you going to die, but you're going to work super duper hard for the rest of your life. You're only going to get the herb of the field. You're going to eat your bread pretty much like sweating all the time. You know what I mean? Like it'll be like you had to really work for that bread. You know what I mean? You know, your daily bread, you really had to put it in for that, my friend. And he's going to be in a constant state of depression for the rest of his days. And he also reminds the man, tells the man that you are from the earth. You're dirt. So that's where you're going to go back to, being dirt. Verse 21, and Adam called the name of his wife Life, Zoe, because she was the mother of all living. And the Lord God made Adam and his wife garments of skin and clothed them. And God said, behold, Adam is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest at any time he stretch forth his hand and take of the tree of life and eat, and so he shall live forever. So the Lord God sent him forth out of the garden of delight to cultivate the land out of which he was taken. And he cast Adam and caused him to dwell over against the garden of delight, and stationed the cherubs and the fiery sword that turns about to keep the way of the tree of life. It's the beginning of chapter 3, verse 1. But we're going to break this down real quick. So the Most High God says to his council of angels that, okay, since he's done this, he can't be allowed to eat from the tree of life because he'll live forever, and then he'll be able to learn everything. I'm not going to have that. So he sends him out, listen, to cultivate the land which he was taken from, the earth out of which he was taken. Come on. Why this is so important is because people like to say that the Fertile Crescent, when they talk about that, they believe that that's the cradle of life, but it's not. So, because the 4 rivers that leave the garden, none of them go to Egypt. So, and that's not being disrespectful. That's just pointing out something to you, that the red clay, light brown mud that you would see is the color that Adam more than likely would have been going forth. We have to discuss the fact that at one point, because this is Pangea, we have to remember that after Pangea, everything changes. There's no need to do a lot of these things. There's no need for a fiery cherub after you drown the earth, okay? And you get rid of all the vegetation on the earth. Just wanted to say that. Now we can go forward. If you were wondering about the tree of life, that is. And Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and brought forth Cain and said, I have gained a man through God. This is a very important thing, y'all. Verse 2, and she again bore his brother Abel. No nickname for Abel, huh? Okay. And Abel was the keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. Like whom? His father. And it was so, after some time, that Cain brought the fruits of the earth, a sacrifice to the Lord, an offering to the Lord. It doesn't say offering, but that's what a sacrifice is. And after so was some time that Cain brought forth the fruits of the earth, a sacrifice to the Lord. And Abel also brought of the firstborn of his sheep and of his fatlings. And God looked upon Abel and his gifts, but Cain and his sacrifices he regarded not. And Cain was exceedingly sorrowful, and his countenance fell. And the Lord God said to Cain, Why art thou become very sorrowful? Why is thy countenance fallen? Hast thou not sinned, if thou hast brought it rightly, but not rightly divided it? Be still, to thee shall be his submission, and thou shalt rule over him. And Cain said to Abel his brother, Let us go into the plain. And it came to pass that when they were in the plain, Cain rose up against Abel his brother, and slew him. And the Lord God said to Cain, Where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And the Lord said, What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood cries to me out of the ground. And now thou art cursed from the earth, which has opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the earth, then it shall not continue to give its strength to thee. That shall be groaning and trembling on the earth. And Cain said to the Lord God, My crime is too great for me to be forgiven. If thou castest me out this day from the face of the earth, I shall be hidden from thy presence, and I shall be groaning and trembling upon the earth. And then it will be that anyone that finds me shall slay me. And the Lord God said to him, Not so. Anyone that slays Cain shall suffer sevenfold vengeance. And the Lord God set a mark upon Cain, that no one that found him might slay him. So Cain went forth from the presence of God and dwelt in the land of Nod, over against Edom. Now we got to talk about this entire passage, because we're going to talk about all this other stuff going forward. Did you take note how the Most High God really wasn't, even though he cared that he killed Abel? I want y'all to understand this. The Most High God created the situation. This is why he only curses him the way that he did. Because when they weren't told to sacrifice. They did that all on their own, being taught who the Most High was, obviously through their parents, and just knowing who he was. So, almost through his own volition, the Most High tells us, like, he didn't blame himself for Abel getting killed, but he sees how the situation came about. So he doesn't kill Cain, because he could have just killed Cain. That was very possible. He doesn't do that. And did you notice that Cain doesn't think that he's been forgiven, even though he's still alive? That's another indication of the fallacy of the human mind. See, there's so many different little things that go forth here. I can't leave it alone just yet. I'll probably leave this spiritual gumbo on this note. Take note, Cain buried his brother's body. Okay? All right? That's why he said that the earth has received your brother's blood. Not that, oh, you spilled his blood, but that you buried him into the ground too, dog. What? And then you tried to pull some slick shit. Excuse my language, but am I his keeper? Because who was the keeper of the sheep? Thank you. See how that, the whole situation is just amazing. Anyway, spiritual gumbo out.